Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and looked out at the stars. Today was the most important day in human history. After 3 months of travel through space, they had finally reached the meeting point. Somewhere out there, an alien ship was waiting for them. Jake was not a young man anymore. At 45, he had gray hair at his temples and lines around his eyes from years of staring into space. But his hands were steady and his mind was sharp. The Earth government had chosen him to lead this mission because he was calm under pressure and good with people. "Captain, we have contact," said Lieutenant Amy Morrison from her station. Amy was Jake's wife, but on the ship she was just another officer. They had agreed to keep their marriage quiet during the mission to avoid any problems with the crew. "Put it on screen," Jake said. The main screen flickered and showed a massive space station floating in the darkness. It was unlike anything humans had ever built. The station was made of what looked like living coral, with smooth curves and no sharp edges. Soft blue lights pulsed along its surface like a heartbeat. "Beautiful," whispered Dr. Lisa Carter, the ship's science officer. Lisa was a small woman with dark hair and bright eyes. She had spent years studying alien languages and cultures preparing for this moment. The patterns on the hull match what we saw in their radio signals. Commander Ryan Blake stepped forward. Ryan was the ship's security chief, a tall man with broad shoulders and a serious face. "Captain, I'm reading no weapons on that station. But that doesn't mean they're not dangerous." Jake nodded. Ryan was right to be careful. The aliens, who called themselves the Velthari, had been watching Earth for decades. They knew about human wars and violence. If this meeting went wrong, it could mean war between two worlds. "Take us in slowly," Jake ordered. "And open a channel." The screen changed to show the inside of the alien station. Jake had seen pictures before, but seeing a real Velthari in person still took his breath away. The creature standing before them was tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of crystal. Patterns of light moved under the surface, changing colors as Jake watched. "I am Zaraketh, speaker for the Velthari Council," the alien said. Her voice was musical, like wind chimes. "You are Captain Morrison of the human vessel?" "Yes," Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'm honored to meet you, Zaraketh. The people of Earth send their greetings. We will dock with your station in 10 minutes, Zaraketh said. Please bring only 5 of your people. We have prepared a meeting room for our talks." The screen went dark. Jake turned to his crew. "Lisa, Ryan, Amy, and Chief Engineer Bob Miller. You're with me." Bob was an older man with graying hair who had been in space longer than anyone else on the ship. His job was to watch how alien technology worked and make sure the humans understood it. 20 minutes later, Jake and his team walked through the airlock onto the alien station. The gravity felt normal, but the air smelled like flowers mixed with ocean spray. Everything around them seemed to be alive. The walls pulsed with soft light and the floor felt warm under their feet. Zaraketh waited for them in a large room with a curved ceiling. She was even more impressive in person. Her skin shifted from blue to green to purple, and patterns of light danced across her face. She wore simple white clothing that seemed to flow like water. "Welcome to Harmony Station," she said. "This is neutral ground built by many species for peaceful meetings." Jake looked around the room. There were chairs that seemed to be grown rather than built, and a table that looked like polished stone. Everything was beautiful but strange. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us," Jake said. "We hope this is the beginning of friendship between our peoples." Zaraketh's skin flashed yellow for a moment. "Your people are young and violent. Many on my world think meeting you is a mistake. But some of us believe all species deserve a chance to grow and learn." Dr. Carter stepped forward. "We've studied your language and culture as much as we could. We want to respect your ways and learn from you." "That is good," Zaraketh said. "But words are easy. Actions show truth." Jake decided it was time for the formal greeting ceremony that Earth's diplomats had planned. He stepped forward and extended his right hand toward Zaraketh, the way humans had greeted each other for thousands of years. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I offer you our friendship," he said. But as his hand moved toward Zaraketh, something unexpected happened. Her skin suddenly flashed bright red, and she moved faster than Jake thought possible. Her hand shot out and grabbed his wrist, stopping his hand just inches from her chest. "Only my husband can touch my secret," she said, her voice sharp and frightened. The room went silent. Jake could feel his heart pounding. Around them, the station's lights seemed to dim. Ryan's hand moved toward his weapon, but Jake shook his head slightly. Whatever had just happened, it was not an attack. Zaraketh's skin was still flashing red and orange. She was breathing hard, like she had just run a long distance. Jake could see that she was upset, maybe even scared. "I'm sorry," Jake said carefully. "I didn't know. I was trying to shake your hand. It's how humans greet each other." Zaraketh slowly let go of his wrist. Her skin began to return to its normal blue-green color. "Your customs are different from ours. What you tried to do? It would be a great offense to my people." Dr. Carter pulled out her tablet and began typing quickly. "We need to understand. Can you explain what we did wrong?" Zaraketh looked at each of the humans carefully. Jake could see her thinking, deciding how much to tell them. "The place where your hand was reaching," she said finally. "It is sacred to us. Only bonded mates may touch there. For another to touch without permission, it is the worst crime in our law." Jake felt sick. He had come here to build friendship, and instead he had almost committed what sounded like assault. "I had no idea. Please accept my apology." "I know you did not mean harm," Zaraketh said, "but my mate leads our military. If he learns that a human tried to touch my heart light—" She didn't finish the sentence, but Jake understood. "War. What do we do now?" Amy asked quietly. Zaraketh looked at them for a long moment. Her skin shifted through several colors before settling on a pale blue. "Now we must learn about each other very carefully," she said, "because your people and mine are more different than either of us realized. And some differences can be dangerous." Jake nodded. The mission had just become much more complicated than anyone had expected. But they had to try. The future of both species might depend on what happened next. Dr. Lisa Carter worked through the night, reading everything she could find about Velthari culture. Her small room on the New Horizon was filled with data tablets and star charts. Coffee cups sat empty on every surface. She had not slept since the meeting went wrong. "Computer, replay the video of the greeting ceremony again," she said. On her screen, she watched Captain Morrison reach out his hand toward Zaraketh. She watched the alien's skin flash red. She watched the fear in Zaraketh's eyes as she stopped the captain's hand. Lisa slowed the video down and watched it frame by frame. There was something important here that she was missing, something that could save the mission or destroy it. A soft knock came at her door. "Come in," she called. Commander Ryan Blake entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He looked tired, too. "Any luck figuring out what happened?" "Some," Lisa said, accepting the coffee gratefully. "The Velthari have something called a heartlight. It's in their chest area, where Captain Morrison was reaching, but I can't find much information about what it actually does." Ryan sat down in the chair across from her desk. Zaraketh said only her husband could touch it. "That suggests it's not just cultural. Maybe it's biological, too." "That's what I'm thinking," Lisa agreed. "Look at this." She pulled up an image on her tablet. "This is a scan we took of Zaraketh during the meeting. See this area here?" She pointed to a glowing spot on the alien's chest. "It's giving off energy, some kind of bioluminescent organ. Could it be dangerous?" Ryan asked. "Maybe that's why they don't let strangers touch it." Lisa shook her head. "I don't think it's dangerous to us, but I think it might be very personal to them. More personal than we can imagine." The door chimed again. This time it was Captain Morrison. He looked older than he had yesterday with new lines around his eyes. "Any progress?" he asked. "Maybe," Lisa said. "Captain, I need to ask you something. When you reached out to shake Zaraketh's hand, what were you thinking about?" Jake frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what emotions were you feeling? Were you nervous? Excited? Happy? All of those, I guess." It was a historic moment. "I was thinking about how important this was for humanity. About my wife, about my children back on Earth, about hope for the future." Lisa's eyes went wide. She turned to her computer and began typing rapidly. "Computer, analyze the energy readings from Zaraketh's heartlight during the greeting ceremony. Look for any changes when Captain Morrison approached." Data scrolled across the screen. Lisa's breathing became faster as she read. "Oh my God," she whispered. "What is it?" Ryan asked. "The heartlight," Lisa said, turning to face them. "It's not just decoration. It's an organ that reads and displays emotions. And according to these readings, it was reacting to Captain Morrison's emotions even before he got close enough to touch it." Jake sat down heavily. "You mean she could feel what I was feeling?" "More than that," Lisa said. "I think the heartlight creates some kind of empathic connection. When 2 Velthari touch heartlights, they can share emotions, maybe even memories. That's why only married couples are allowed to touch them. It would be like letting a stranger read your mind. Ryan stood up and began pacing. So when the captain reached out with his hand, thinking about his wife and children, Zaraketh would have felt all of that, Lisa finished. All his love, his hopes, his most private feelings. To her, it would have been like he was trying to force an intimate mental connection. Jake put his head in his hands. No wonder she was scared. I wasn't just trying to shake her hand. From her perspective, I was trying to share my deepest emotions with her. There's more, Lisa said quietly. I've been reading about Velthari bonding rituals. When two of them decide to marry, they touch heart lights and share everything. Every memory, every feeling, every secret. After that, they're connected for life. They can sense each other's emotions across great distances. Like a psychic marriage, Ryan said. Exactly. And if humans can trigger their heart lights without meaning to, Lisa trailed off. Then every time we interact with them, we risk creating unwanted emotional connections, Jake finished. This is worse than I thought. The ship's communication system buzzed. Captain Morrison to the bridge, came Amy's voice. We're receiving a transmission from the Velthari homeworld. Jake stood up. That can't be good. Zaraketh said her husband leads their military. The three of them hurried to the bridge. On the main screen was a Velthari male. He was larger than Zaraketh, with skin that shifted between dark red and black. His heart light pulsed with angry orange light. I am Keth Morin, war leader of the Velthari Defense Force, he said. His voice was deeper than Zaraketh's, like distant thunder. I speak for my bonded mate, Zaraketh. I'm Captain Morrison, Jake replied. I want to apologize for any offense we caused during our meeting. Keth Moran's skin flashed brighter red. You tried to force intimacy with my mate. In our law, this is punishable by death. It was a misunderstanding, Jake said quickly. We had no knowledge of your customs. We meant no disrespect. Ignorance is not an excuse, Keth Moran growled. Your species is primitive and dangerous. You should not have been allowed to leave your world. Dr. Carter stepped forward. Please let us explain. In human culture, shaking hands is a sign of respect and friendship. We had no idea it would affect Zaraketh's heart light. You know about the heart light? Keth Moran asked, his anger seeming to pause for a moment. We're learning, Lisa said. We understand now that it's an organ for emotional connection. We understand why touching it without permission would be a terrible violation of trust. Keth Moran was quiet for several seconds. His skin shifted from red to orange to yellow and back to red. My mate says you showed strong emotions during your approach, he said finally. Love for your own mate. Hope for your species. These are not the emotions of one who means harm. That's true, Jake said. I was thinking about my wife and children, about the hope this meeting represented for all humans. And yet you would have shared these private feelings with my mate without her consent, Keth Moran said. How do I know your people can be trusted with the knowledge of our heart lights? How do I know you will not use this knowledge to manipulate us? Jake looked at his crew. This was the moment that would decide everything. He had to find the right words. Because, Jake said slowly, humans understand the value of private feelings. We have our own ways of sharing emotions with those we love. We know that some things are sacred and should not be forced on others. Prove it, Keth Moran said. How? I am coming to the station with a military escort. You will show me that your species can be trusted with intimate knowledge. If you cannot... He didn't finish the threat. The transmission ended. The bridge was silent. Captain, Ryan said, what are we going to do? Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien warrior was coming to judge humanity. The future of both species hung in the balance. We're going to show him what human love really looks like, Jake said, and hope it's enough. Zaraketh stood alone in her quarters on Harmony Station, watching the stars through the large window. Her heart light pulsed with soft blue colors, showing her calm but sad emotions. She had been thinking about the humans for hours. The door chimed softly. Enter, she called. Dr. Lisa Carter stepped inside, carrying a small device and looking nervous. I hope I'm not disturbing you. I wanted to talk about what happened. You may speak, Zaraketh said, not turning from the window, but stay where you are. I do not wish to risk another accident. Lisa stopped near the door. I've been studying your culture. I think I understand now why you were frightened. Do you? Zaraketh's skin shifted to pale green. Tell me what you think you know. The heart light is how your people share their deepest emotions and memories with their bonded mates. When Captain Morrison reached toward yours while feeling strong love for his own wife, It would have felt like he was trying to force an intimate connection with you. Zaraketh finally turned around. Her large eyes studied Lisa carefully. That is surprisingly accurate for such a young species. How did you learn this? We observed the energy patterns from your heart light during the meeting. We compared them with the emotional readings from our captain. The connection was clear. Few species understand this quickly, Zaraketh said. Most aliens we have met think the heart light is just decoration. They do not realize it is the center of our emotional being. Lisa stepped a little closer, then stopped when Zaraketh's skin flashed yellow in warning. Can you tell me about other species you've met? How do they react to your customs? Zaraketh moved to a chair that seemed to be grown from the station's living walls. The Karathi think our bonding practices are weakness. They believe emotions should be controlled, not shared. The Zhextai tried to study our heart lights like a science experiment. They wanted to copy the technology for their own use. That must have been horrible, Lisa said. It was. They did not understand that the heart light cannot be copied. It is part of our soul, not just our body. When they failed to recreate it, they became angry and broke off relations. Lisa pulled out her tablet. What about the Melodic Empire? Our databases show they're very advanced. Zaraketh's skin turned dark purple. The Melodics think they are superior to all other species. They said our bonding practices were primitive superstition. They offered to fix us with their technology. None of them tried to understand your culture? None, Zaraketh said sadly. For 300 years we have been alone in the galaxy. Other species want to trade with us or fight us, but none want to know us. Lisa sat down on the floor, keeping her distance but showing respect. That's why this meeting is so important to you. Yes, some of our people hoped that humans might be different. Your radio transmissions showed that you have complex emotions and strong bonds with your mates, but others, like my bonded Kethmoran, believe you are too violent and primitive. What do you believe? Lisa asked. Zaraketh was quiet for a long moment. Her heart light pulsed with soft colors as she thought. Yesterday, when your captain approached me, I felt his emotions clearly. Love for his mate. Hope for his people. Wonder at meeting us. These are not the emotions of a primitive being. But he almost touched your heart light without permission. Yes. But he stopped when I asked him to, and when I explained why it was wrong, he was truly sorry. A violent species would have become angry at being corrected. Lisa smiled. Humans make mistakes, but most of us try to learn from them. That is what gives me hope, Zaraketh said. But Kethmoran has seen too much war and betrayal. He will not be easy to convince. The station's communication system activated. Zaraketh, this is Captain Morrison. May I speak with you? Zaraketh touched a panel on the wall. I am here, Captain. I wanted to let you know that my wife is coming to the station. Lieutenant Amy Morrison will arrive in 6 hours aboard our shuttle. I think it might help your mate understand humans better if he could see how we actually bond with each other. Zaraketh's skin flashed with surprised yellow. You would bring your bonded mate here? Into potential danger? She's also a trained officer, Jake's voice replied. And yes, I trust you enough to bring her here. I think showing your husband how humans really love each other might be our best chance for peace. Lisa leaned forward excitedly. That's brilliant. If Kethmoran can see an actual human bonded pair, he might understand that we're not trying to steal or manipulate emotional connections. It is unexpected, Zaraketh said. Most species would not risk their mate's safety for diplomacy. Humans do unexpected things when we believe in something, Jake said. I believe our species can be friends. After the communication ended, Zaraketh sat in silence for several minutes. Her heart light shifted through many colors. Dr. Carter, she said finally, may I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you have a bonded mate? Lisa blushed. Not yet, but I hope to someday, when I find the right person. How will you know when you find them? Lisa thought about the question. I think it's when you trust someone completely. When you want to share everything with them. Your hopes, your fears, your dreams. When making them happy becomes as important as your own happiness. Zaraketh's heart light pulsed with warm gold colors. That is very similar to how we choose our bonds. Perhaps humans and Velthari are not so different after all. I don't think we are, Lisa agreed. We just express love in different ways. The station shook slightly as another ship docked. Through the window, they could see a large Velthari military vessel. It was dark gray and covered with weapon ports. Kethmoran has arrived, Zaraketh said, her skin shifting to nervous orange. He brought more ships than I expected. How many?
12 war vessels.
If these talks fail, he is prepared to destroy your ship and report that humans are too dangerous to contact. Lisa felt her stomach drop. Will you help us? Will you speak for humanity to your mate? Zaraketh stood and moved to the window. Her reflection showed in the glass, heart light pulsing with determined red colors. I will try, she said. Your captain showed courage by bringing his mate here. Perhaps it is time for me to show the same courage. What do you mean? I am going to do something that no Velthari has done in 300 years, Zaraketh said. I am going to trust an alien species with the truth about our heart lights. Everything. Even the secrets we have never shared with outsiders. Lisa stood up quickly. Are you sure? That sounds dangerous. It is. If your people betray this trust, it could destroy us. But if I do not try, the war will destroy us anyway. Zaraketh turned to face Lisa. The question is, are humans worthy of such trust? Lisa met her eyes. I think you're about to find out. Outside the window, more ships appeared. Human vessels and Velthari warships faced each other across the empty space. The future of two civilizations hung in the balance, waiting for the answer to one simple question. Could two very different species learn to understand each other's hearts? Lieutenant Amy Morrison stepped off the shuttle and onto Harmony Station. She was a small woman with brown hair and kind eyes, but she walked with the confidence of someone who had served in space for 15 years. Behind her came Chief Engineer Bob Miller and 2 other crew members. Captain Morrison waited for her at the airlock. When Amy saw him, her face lit up with a smile that made her look 10 years younger. Hello, husband, she said softly. Hello, wife, Jake replied. They did not hug or kiss, not in front of the crew, but something passed between them, a look that spoke of years of shared love and trust. Commander Ryan Blake watched this exchange with interest. He had known Jake and Amy for years, but he had never really noticed how they communicated without words. A raised eyebrow from Amy meant, "Are you okay?" A slight nod from Jake meant, "Everything is under control." The Velthari War leader wants to meet you, Jake told Amy, as they walked through the station corridors. I figured as much, Amy said. Otherwise you wouldn't have asked me to come. How dangerous is this? Very. If this goes wrong, we might not make it home. Amy was quiet for a moment. Then she took Jake's hand. Then I'm glad we're together. They entered the main meeting room where Zaraketh waited. She was not alone. Beside her stood the largest alien any of the humans had ever seen. Keth Morin was almost 7 feet tall with muscles that showed even through his skin. His heart light pulsed with angry red colors and his skin shifted between dark red and black. So, Keth Moran said, his voice like rolling thunder, you brought your mate into danger. This proves humans are either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, Jake said calmly. But we believe some things are worth the risk. Show me, Keth Morin demanded. Show me this human bonding you claim is so special. Jake looked at Amy. They had talked about this moment during her shuttle flight to the station. They knew what they had to do. Keth Moran, Jake said. Before I met Amy, I was incomplete. I had achieved success in my career and made friends, but something was missing. When I met her, it was like finding the other half of my soul. Amy smiled. Jake was afraid to ask me out for 6 months. He thought I was too smart for him. I was right, Jake said with a grin. You are too smart for me. But somehow you chose me anyway. Because intelligence isn't everything, Amy said. I chose you because you're kind. Because you listen when I talk. Because you make me laugh even on the worst days. Keth Moran watched this exchange with confusion. His skin shifted from red to orange. This is your bonding ritual? Words? No, Jake said. Words are just the beginning. Amy, remember our wedding day? Amy's eyes went soft with memory. It was raining. We had planned an outdoor ceremony, but the weather didn't cooperate. I was so disappointed. So you know what I did? Jake asked Keth Moran. I moved the entire wedding into the rain. All our family and friends standing in the storm getting soaked while Amy and I exchanged vows under an umbrella. Why? Zaraketh asked, speaking for the first time. Her heart light was pulsing with curious yellow colors. Because Amy had dreamed of an outdoor wedding since she was a little girl, Jake said. Her happiness was more important than staying dry. Amy reached out and touched Jake's arm gently. And do you know what Jake gave up for me last year? Tell them, Jake said. He was offered command of Earth's first deep space exploration mission, the job he had dreamed of his entire career, but the mission would have taken him away from Earth for 5 years. I turned it down, Jake said simply, because 5 years without Amy would not have been living. It would have been just existing. Catamaran's skin was shifting through many colors now. You gave up your greatest ambition for your mate? It wasn't a sacrifice, Jake said. When you truly love someone, their happiness becomes part of your happiness. Making Amy happy makes me happy. Dr. Carter, who had been watching quietly, stepped forward. May I show you something? She pulled out her tablet and activated a program. This measures emotional resonance in humans. Watch what happens when Jake and Amy interact. On the screen, 2 sets of data appeared. One showed Jake's emotional state, the other showed Amy's. As the couple continued talking, the patterns began to match each other. When Jake felt calm, Amy felt calm. When Amy felt happy, Jake felt happy. Fascinating, Zaraketh breathed. They are synchronized. Not completely, Lisa explained. But after 20 years together, they have learned to read each other's emotions so well that they respond automatically. It's not psychic like your heart lights, but it's similar. This is why the captain's emotions were so strong when he approached you, Amy said to Zaraketh. He was thinking about our bond, our love. Those are the strongest emotions humans can feel. Catamaran was silent for a long time. His skin had settled into a deep blue color that none of the humans had seen before. I still do not trust your species, he said finally, but I begin to understand that you are not primitive animals. You have your own form of bonding. There's more, Jake said. Amy, tell them about Commander Blake. Amy smiled. Ryan is bonded to a man named Paul Blake. Paul is a doctor back on Earth. They have been married for 10 years. Catamaran's skin flashed with surprise. Males bond with males in your species? Sometimes, Ryan said, stepping forward. And females bond with females. Love takes many forms among humans. How is this possible? Zaraketh asked. Because for humans, love is about the mind and heart, not just the body, Amy explained. We choose our mates based on who they are inside, not what they look like outside. Paul and I knew we were meant for each other the first time we talked, Ryan added. He was treating wounded soldiers, working 18 hours a day to save lives. I knew then that he had the kind of heart I wanted to share my life with. Catamaran looked at Zaraketh. His wife's heart light was pulsing with warm gold colors. My mate, he said softly. What do you think of these humans? I think, Zaraketh said carefully, that they understand bonding differently than we do, but they understand it deeply. They choose their mates with wisdom. They sacrifice for each other. They remain loyal even when apart. But can they be trusted with our secrets? Catamaran asked. Before anyone could answer, the station's alarm system activated. Red lights flashed and a warning tone sounded. What's happening? Jake demanded. Zaraketh touched a control panel. Unknown ships approaching. They're not responding to communication. On the main screen, dozens of dark vessels appeared out of nowhere. They were sleek and predatory, unlike any ship the humans or Velthari had seen before. Parasites, Catamaran growled, his skin flashing bright red with anger and fear. They have found us. Who are the parasites? Ryan asked, his hand moving to his weapon. A species that feeds on emotional energy, Zaraketh explained rapidly. They infiltrate other cultures by mimicking bonding behaviors, then steal emotional connections for food. They have been hunting us for decades, Catamaran added. They want to learn the secret of our heart light so they can copy our bonding and feed on our deepest emotions. The dark ships moved closer to the station. Weapon ports opened along their hulls. Now you will see why we guard our secrets so carefully, Zaraketh said. If the parasites learn about human emotional bonding, they will hunt your species too. Jake looked at Amy, then at his crew. How do we fight them? You cannot, Catamaran said grimly. They are immune to most weapons. The only defense is to deny them access to emotional energy. But they already know we're here, Amy pointed out. Yes, Catamaran agreed, which means this meeting may have doomed both our species. Outside, the parasite ships moved into attack formation. The test of human and Velthari friendship was about to become a fight for survival. The parasite ships surrounded Harmony Station like hungry sharks. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb light, making them hard to see against the stars. On the station's bridge, humans and Velthari worked together for the first time, trying to find a way to survive. 12 parasite vessels, reported Commander Blake, reading the sensor data. Each one is twice the size of our ship. They are scanning us, Zaraketh said, her skin flashing with worried orange colors. They can sense the emotional energy from both our species. Captain Morrison studied the tactical display. Kethmoran, how do these parasites fight? The Velthari war leader's heartlight pulsed with dark red anger. They do not destroy ships with weapons. They board vessels and drain the emotional energy from all living beings aboard. The victims become empty shells, alive but without feelings or thoughts. That's horrible, Amy whispered. It is a fate worse than death, Kethmoran agreed. We have lost thousands of our people to them over the years. Dr. Carter looked up from her tablet. I'm reading strange energy patterns from their ships. It's like they're trying to copy the emotional signatures they're detecting. Yes, Zaraketh said sadly. They learn by watching. If they study us long enough, they will be able to disguise themselves as humans or Velthari. Then they can infiltrate our worlds and feed on entire populations. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. How much time do we have? Not long, Kethmoran said. They are preparing to board the station. Suddenly, one of the human technicians called out from his station. Captain, I'm detecting something strange. The parasites seem confused by our emotional patterns. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Well, they're used to reading Velthari emotions through the heartlight. But human emotions work differently. Our feelings are more scattered, less focused. They can't get a clear reading. Zaraketh's skin flashed with sudden hope. That might be our advantage. Parasites need clear emotional patterns to copy. If they cannot understand human feelings, they can't copy them, Jake finished. But how does that help us fight them? Chief Engineer Bob Miller, who had been quiet until now, suddenly spoke up. Captain, what if we don't fight them? What if we confuse them instead? Explain, Kethmoran demanded. Bob pointed to his engineering tablet. Human emotions are complex and contradictory. We can feel happy and sad at the same time. We can love someone and be angry with them. Our feelings change quickly and often don't make logical sense. The parasites are used to Velthari emotions, which are clear and focused through the heartlight, Amy added, understanding where Bob was going. If we flood them with human-style mixed emotions, it might overload their systems. How do we do that? Ryan asked. Jake looked at his wife, then at his crew. We do what humans do best. We feel everything at once. For the next few minutes, Jake explained his plan. It was crazy and dangerous, but it might work. The humans would project their most complex emotions while the Velthari used their heartlights to amplify the signal. This is madness, Kethmoran said when he heard the plan. You want to open our heartlights to strangers? To share our deepest emotional connections with humans we barely know? It's the only way, Zaraketh said firmly. If we do not trust the humans now, we will all be dead within the hour. Kethmoran looked at Jake and Amy, then at the rest of the human crew. His skin shifted through many colors as he made his decision. Very well, he said finally. But if you betray this trust, if you use our heartlight connection to harm us, I will hunt you across the galaxy. Understood, Jake said. Let's begin. They formed a circle in the center of the meeting room. Jake and Amy stood beside Zaraketh and Kethmoran. Ryan thought about his husband Paul back on Earth. Lisa thought about her hope of finding love someday. Bob thought about his daughter who was graduating from school while he was away in space. Open your heartlight, Jake said to Zaraketh. Share what you feel. Zaraketh's heartlight began to glow brighter. Jake could suddenly feel her emotions flowing into his mind. Love for her mate, fear for her people, hope that this crazy plan might work, sadness for all the friends lost to the parasites over the years. But the human emotions flowing back to her were much more complex. Jake's love for Amy was mixed with worry about the mission, pride in his crew, fear of failure, hope for peace, and dozens of other feelings all tangled together. It's working, Amy gasped. I can feel everything you're feeling, but it's so complicated. So many layers. Kethmoran opened his heartlight too, and suddenly all four of them were connected. The Velthari war leader's mind was filled with human emotional chaos. Love and fear and hope and anger and joy all mixed together in ways that made no sense to his ordered Velthari thinking. This is what you live with every day? He asked in amazement. How do you make decisions with so many conflicting feelings? We just do, Ryan said, joining the connection. Humans are good at holding contradictory emotions. Outside the station, the parasite ships began to shake. Alarm sounds echoed through space as their scanning systems overloaded. They had never encountered emotional patterns this complex and contradictory. It's working, Dr. Carter shouted, monitoring the sensors. The parasites are retreating. One by one, the dark ships pulled back from the station. Their hulls flickered as their disguise systems failed, revealing the strange angular shapes underneath. Within minutes, they had jumped away into hyperspace, fleeing from emotions they could not understand or copy. In the meeting room, the humans and Velthari slowly broke their emotional connection. Everyone was exhausted but alive. "I have never felt anything like that," Kethmoran said, his skin shifting to amazed blue colors. "Human emotions are like a storm, powerful and chaotic and beautiful. And I've never felt the clarity of Velthari emotions through the heartlight," Jake replied. "So focused and pure. It's incredible," Zaraketh looked at her mate. "Do you still think humans are too primitive to be trusted?" Kethmoran was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly he extended his hand toward Jake. "I think humans are exactly what we need. Your emotional complexity makes you immune to parasite copying. You could be our allies against them." Jake carefully shook the offered hand, being careful not to touch Kethmoran's heartlight. "We would be honored to stand with you." Over the next several hours, they worked out the details of an alliance. The Velthari would share their advanced technology with humanity. In return, humans would help defend Velthari space against parasite attacks. More importantly, the two species would exchange cultural knowledge and learn from each other. "There is one more thing," Zaraketh said, as the formal ceremonies concluded. "The connection we shared today, it was brief, but it was real. You are the first aliens to ever touch our heartlights and survive the experience." "What does that mean?" Amy asked. "It means you are family now," Kethmoran said. "Not bonded mates, but something like adopted siblings. We will always be connected," Dr. Carter smiled. "I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." As the human shuttle prepared to return to the New Horizon, Jake and Amy stood at the station's observation deck with their new Velthari friends. Earth was visible in the distance, a small blue dot among the stars. "Your people will be proud," Zaraketh said. "You have made history today." "Both our peoples have," Jake replied. "This alliance will change everything." "The parasites will return," Kethmoran warned. "They will find new ways to attack us." "Then we'll find new ways to stop them," Amy said firmly. Together. As the shuttle pulled away from the station, Jake looked back at the strange coral structure where two species had learned to trust each other. It had started with a cultural misunderstanding, a human hand reaching toward an alien's most private and sacred space. But it had ended with something beautiful, proof that love in all its forms was truly universal. The stars stretched out before them, full of possibilities. Humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. They had allies now. Friends who understood that the strongest bonds were built not on shared biology or technology, but on shared respect and trust. And somewhere in the depths of space, the parasites fled from emotions they could never hope to understand. The complex, contradictory, beautiful chaos of the human heart.